got to get up early this morning, as we're going on a road trip today. Good morning, Mr. Cat. Why do I have this picture here again? Anyway, let's head down the stairs, grab some breakfast. I don't fancy eating Big Log's Cocoa Pops today. I'll go without. Okay, time to meet up with the boys. Out of the door at 6:10, not bad at all. I hope the guys have remembered to get up early as well today. And here we go, right on time. Let's take Sweet's car. He mentioned he wasn't using it today, so we can just take it out. And so, it was time to leave Grove Street and head out on our road trip. We made our way through Los Santos and into the nearby countryside. Traffic really builds up when you get stuck behind a tractor or two. As we approached Whetstone, a thick fog began to descend from the clouds. So much so we had to turn the headlights on. Is it me, or is it always eerily misty around these parts? But it's going to take more than a patch of fog to make us abandon this trip. Soon we arrived in San Fierro, but today we're not stopping. On this road trip we're just passing through San Fierro, but I can assure you that we'll be back here soon enough. Before long we had passed through San Fierro and we were on to the Gant bridge. It was getting dark at this point now. We'd been travelling to our first destination almost all day. It's truly amazing how big San Andreas is as a whole. So we might need a few more road trips to cover it all. This time we're focusing on Las Venturas. But not even the entirety of Las Venturas. Mainly the Tierra, Robada and Bone County regions. And trust me, there's enough within these regions alone to fill the time. As we cross over the Gant Bridge, we soon drop down into the first location of our journey. Down here is Bayside, a little seaside town that's tucked away in the northwest corner here. Upon entering it, Bayside immediately feels somewhat upmarket, with its white houses with terracotta coloured roofs, clean streets and aesthetic church. But apparently there are gangs here, and I think they're mafia. Look at this area here. Looks like there's some building work about to commence. The town of Bayside does have a small centre, but all the businesses seem to be closed. I know it's late, but I thought a bar might still be open somewhere. Due to the gang altercations, shall we say, I decided to briefly drop the homies off and explore alone for a little while. The main thing that's here in Bayside is a boat school. There are no other shops or restaurants or anything. Not even a Clucking Bell or burger shop to be seen round here. There's a harbour area here as well, and some more commercial looking warehouses. From many places in Bayside, you can see the Gant Bridge once more. It really dominates the landscape in this region. As I mentioned, the houses are mostly uniform. White walls and terracotta coloured roofs. But some of these big properties are actually semi-detached, as you can see 2 doors here. So maybe it's not quite as posh as we first thought. I love the stained glass windows on the church, by the way. Behind Bayside is this small but tall mountain range, named the Cordillera. allegedly only Mount Chiliad is taller in the entire San Andreas region. With the mountain range behind and the Gant Bridge in front, Bayside is a very picturesque place. Whoever is developing this plot here is going to live in a piece of prime real estate. There's a lot of groundwork to do first though. After that, I picked up the guys and left Bayside. Just outside the town is this diner. We stopped with the intention of grabbing some food before reaching the place we're staying. And that place is located down the road, in a town called Las Barrancas. Here, there is one of two locations of the Tee Pee Motel. As we set off on our road trip nearly 24 hours ago, it was time to get some rest. Sometime later, we awoke from our teepees and set off to explore the historic town of Las Barrancas. It's a town that feels as though its heyday has been and gone, somewhat at least. The buildings are reminiscent of the old Wild West, where the town's bank was just called Bank, free from the effects of commercialism. A lot of the other buildings are unnamed, but still possess the same archaic architecture. In the centre of the town there is a lone church with what appears to be a graveless cemetery, although this is perhaps the location of the Barrancas mass grave. As local legend has it, in 1842 the 66th Cavalry, under the command of Colonel Henry Bolt, was stationed in nearby Fort Carson when they answered a call for help from homesteaders under attack from bandits. Riding to the rescue, the whole force fell down a hole. It is said that the sound of 100 horses can be heard riding through the town at midnight. So it's a good job we're exploring this place in the daytime. Behind the church on the cliffside, there are the remains of a Native American Pueblo building. My buddies couldn't manage to navigate the path up here, so we'll have to go alone. These ruins are, well, very ruinous. There's really not much left here at all. But the views across Las Barrancas remain. The same views as the Pueblo building offered its inhabitants way back when. Although I imagine there were fewer buildings then. We popped back to the centre of the town to take a couple of photos when the sun had gone down. Next morning, it was time to leave Las Barrancas and move on to the next destination of our road trip. Me and the boys decided to go fishing today, so we stopped at a nearby bait shop. It's located here, near the clucking bell that was stationed at the crossroads we passed through. This is one of two bait shops in San Andreas, with the other being in Angel Pine near Los Santos. We looked around the bait shop, but sadly it seemed to be closed. But we still followed this dirt track to the pontoon, which is presumably where people fish once they've purchased their bait. So we took our holiday snaps and moved on. Later on that evening, we ventured to our next location, which initially took us across the Sherman Dam. Just across the dam, we followed a dirt track which branched off the main road. And in the early morning, the ghost town of Las Brujas appeared before us out of thin air. This deserted town lies in the shadow of El Castillo del Diablo, a notable rock formation in the region. There's a church located here, and the bell tower almost seems illuminated in an eerie white glow. Someone has left flowers by a grave here though, so someone visits here at least. Probably in the daytime though. I think we've already hedged our bets by staying here this long, so let's hurry along.
Hey, watch yourself, huh?
As we make our way out of Las Brujas, the sun summons the courage to reappear from the horizon. On the other side of the road, not far from our previous location, lies this building, a research facility, a lonely one at that. Our car is the only vehicle in the entire car park. What kind of things are researched here, and who by? Is the proximity to Las Brujas a coincidence or intentional? There are so many unanswered questions about this place that aren't likely to be answered anytime soon. So this building remains an enigma. What was its intended purpose? Was it meant to be more than just a location on a Grove Street family's road trip? After this, we wanted to take a quick stop off around lunchtime. We were all getting a bit hungry by this point, but what's one more stop, right? We drove along the coast here where, surprisingly, there is a small beach. Not necessarily a beach you'd want to visit though, as it's right by the highway. If we keep driving past this, however, we'll reach our destination. There's no turn off for it though, so we're going to have to go a bit rogue and do a little bit of off-roading in a car that's not really meant for it. And here we are. We can see the Gant Bridge once more, and if we climb up this hill... Okay, well, maybe we really should have stopped for lunch first. Anyway, at the top of this small hill is this viewing platform. There's this little spiral staircase we can ascend to the top. Over here is the Gant Bridge again, and the town of Bayside where we stopped earlier. And on this side is a sandy cove with a skimmer stationed there. Looking around the base of this viewing point, it's quite uneven. Has this always been a viewing point, or did it originally have a different use? Perhaps a lighthouse was once here, although it would have to be a small one. And it kind of reminds me of an old gun battery, although I'm not sure how common these were in America, especially around these parts. I think it was more the case in the UK. Whatever the case, it's here for us to enjoy now. And therefore, there's only one thing left to do. Take a customary road trip photo. As it was getting late in the day, we wanted to hurry to our next spot to see if we could witness the sunset. So we ventured to this viewing spot, which is located across the road from the Pecker's Feed and Seed giant chicken over there. And here is some kind of visitors centre, with a couple of vending machines outside. Sadly, the centre itself wasn't open, but luckily the view never closes for the day. So we took another holiday photo and watched the sky darken. Sadly, no sunset, as the clouds had come over at this point. Next morning we drove across the Sherman Dam once again, on our way to a little tourist hotspot in Tierra, Robada. We took this snaking road that passes close to the Big Ear. A fun road to drive down, although perhaps not while using this camera angle. Just across from the base of this road is our next spot. We parked the car in the currently empty car park and set about exploring. It's a good job we got here early, because the car park will be filling up before long. Past the building, which is likely a visitor centre and gift shop, we reach the main attraction. Everyone, meet Regular Tom, the only active geyser in the entire state of San Andreas. In the background we can see this stunning rock formation. I'm not sure whether this one has a specific name though. Regular Tom gets its name from the way it frequently erupts hot water every few seconds. Photographers like us are in luck, as we don't have to wait long for the next eruption. In the background we can see the Big Ear, a large and prominent radio telescope in the area. We took our photos and headed past the visitor centre to the car park, which was indeed filling up with the day's tourists. After a quick chili dog, we made our way back to the car and continued our road trip. On the way to our next stop off, we drove through Green Palms and Octane Springs. Green Palms is a large oil refinery, so certainly not your typical tourist spot in the region. But that's likely why it isn't visited all that often. Upon entering the premises, we were met by white spheres with steps leading up to the top of them. And across the road from this is the large oil field of Octane Springs. So naturally it makes sense to have these two locations next to one another. Watch out for the train tracks when you're crossing this area, but if you do get across, you'll notice this factory type building, which is here as well. There's a fairly big oil operation in terms of the sheer size of the site, although there are exactly 13 pumps here, according to GTA Fandom. We took a customary photo, and I do wish the guys were better at holding a camera straight though. While we won't go into Las Venturas itself during this road trip, we will touch the edge of the city. On the very outskirts here, there exists a little known strip club. It's named the Big Spread Ranch. In all my years in San Andreas, I can't say I've ever visited this place before. Maybe it's a locals bar with a loyal clientele in the immediate district. Around the back we have a rear entrance that isn't open, with some Romanesque pillars at either side. There is also a swimming pool with no water in. Maybe we just visited at the wrong time of year. The penultimate stop of our road trip is the second of two viewing spots. This one is near the base of the Big Ear, and here is a visitor's centre. And we reached this spot at the perfect time to see the Rockstar R constellation in the sky. And with a view of a nearby star and the crescent moon, we decided to stay out and watch the sun come up over the small town of Fort Carson. On the final day of our road trip, the sun finally came out once more, and so we drove into Fort Carson to find the perfect place to end this road trip. Across town, on the way out of Fort Carson, we discovered an abandoned drive-in movie theatre. What films here played last? It Came from Uranus and Zombie Cheerleader Sleepover 5. Well, no tickets for sale anymore to those films, sadly. And the place is looking quite overgrown. Out of all the places we've been on this journey, this one does play a very small part in the storyline. In Stowaway, if CJ jumps out of the Andromeda without a parachute, he'll land on an Admiral which is parked here, destroying it and CJ too. But with no movies playing here today, or any other day by the looks of things, we'll just have to make our own. Thank you so much for joining us on this road trip through Tierra, Robada and Bone County in Las Venturas. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.